Steve Bowers welcoming you to Roll Call here at EPlusTV 6-hour visit with the Jackson Police Department. We have several things to discuss. We'll talk about a fundraising event coming up, the Andy Bailey Memorial Run that's coming up September the 17th. We'll also talk about an unsolved murder in our city that goes back to 1997 and a rash of auto burglaries that we have seen in our area and some other spots in West Tennessee. Several things to get to, but we'll start with Deputy Chief Barry Michael on a very serious moment, and that is the death of TBI agent Desharon Frazier. First time a TBI agent has been killed in the line of duty in the history of the TBI, which I did not realize. Of course, a lot of their work is investigative work.
It is. They have an investigative division. They have a drug division.
And so that's it. But we had calmed down. We opened this year with 4 homicides in the month of January.
Right.
And it was like, that's not the way you want to open the year.
No, we thought it was going to be bad.
We haven't had a homicide since then until this one, and it was a disturbing situation. First of all, an officer is killed in the line of duty. The fact that someone from West Tennessee is the accused in this case is not somebody that came here from Chicago or whatever kind of myth we want to create sometimes. Right. Homegrown folks here and involved in this. And so a pause and reflection certainly on the work that is done every day by people that wear a uniform or in some cases go without that uniform. And move into work to try to enforce the law and protect the rest of us. So what's it like when you sit where you are, when you heard?
Well, when I heard, of course, you jump out of the office and you run to try and help. Went straight to the hospital, and you know, those things kind of they hit me a little bit closer because I worked in drug enforcement work for about 13 years and managed a unit. And, you know I would have guys that would go out on these undercover buys all the time. And they're so unpredictable. To me, it's working narcotics work is probably the most dangerous work.
How do you decide when you're going to do that?
Well, when you get a target, somebody that you know that's dealing, you've got to figure out a way. The way that we get them in jail is to actually make a purchase from them, whether it's in their home or whether it's
so you have to have a personal record, personal purchase.
Yeah,
you can't take my word for it or whatever. Somebody's got to do it.
You know, an officer could testify, but sometimes informants are used. But I mean, you really to make a good case, you need a good audio or video recording, and you know, it's just that's a necessary evil of that case. You know, we can't take information that a citizen calls in and says this person's dealing drugs and just go out there and search their house or lock them up. It doesn't work that way in drug work. So in drug work, you kind of have to make your own cases. You have to, well, in essence, you have to make the crime occur. You have to get the person to sell you the drugs, but once they do, you know, you've got your first buy from them and a sale and delivery charge.
At what point does the TBI join with you or with local law? Is this an unusual case or is
no?
it
No,
routine?
we work with TBI drug enforcement agents all the time. Okay. We have a guy that's assigned to the local DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, which is on the federal level. We have a guy assigned to their task force. So we have several groups just here in Jackson and Madison County that are working narcotics, and we're all trying to work the same cases and the same people. So there are cases that the Metro Narcotics Unit, which is just us and the Madison County Sheriff's Department, there are cases that we work alone, but TBI gets what they consider a high-profile offender. You know, they don't have as many agents in this area as we have, so they're usually going to call us for resources for backup, manpower backup, and to assist on the case. And some of these investigations are really long-term. I'm not talking about, you know, when you investigate a house burglary, you might have it solved in a few weeks or a month. Right. Some of these cases go on for years before you can actually get the guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is all part of a calculated effort. I guess just a reminder that work is underway, that involves a lot of different people, a lot of different circumstances, and that you can't control the circumstances.
No. People will call and and they'll say, you know, I know my next door neighbor is dealing drugs. And we do take that information and we do work on it. But people don't understand, sometimes it takes a long time to make that case because we actually have to get in that house or get to that person and make a buy.
They have to become confident
and
so, let you in,
so the people think that we're not doing anything, but we are out there and these guys are undercover, so we don't want them to be seen. If you see us in the neighborhood, then we're not really working undercover, so it makes it difficult.
This is a reminder that we have a continuing drug problem, and Chief Michaels has worked in this division before. We'll talk about how it's changed as we continue roll call here at EPlusTV 6.
With the first pick of the draft, the Indianapolis Colts select quarterback Peyton Manning.
The NFL's only 5-time MVP, Peyton Manning, at Freed-Hardeman University, December 2nd, for the 52nd annual benefit dinner.
Peyton Manning has become the NFL's all-time leader in career passing
Go
yards.
to fhu.edu/Manning for information. Peyton Manning, December 2nd at Freed-Hardeman University, where faith and reason create Christian leaders.
Check it out.
When it gets cold, feels like the end. There's no place to go, you know I won't give in. No, I won't give in. Keep holding on, 'cause you know we'll make it through, we'll make it.
Welcome back to Roll Call at EPlusTV 6. Our visit with the Jackson Police Department. Deputy Chief Barry Michael is with us. We were talking about the death of TBI agent Deshaun Frazier in our city. First TBI agent to be killed in the line of duty in the history of the TBI. Drug undercover buy that goes awry. It's a reminder of the serious nature of this work and what we're asking people to do when we demand that something be done about the drug flow and drug trafficking and everything else that happens within our community, that it takes real people, as you say, sometimes lengthy investigations. This was set up by an informant.
Correct.
Right? There's a word. What is the motive for an informant to turn?
Well, sometimes the motive is they've been arrested and they've become a cooperating informant to assist them with their charges for when they go to court. Some of them do it because we pay them. Okay. The ones that aren't working off charges or whatever. Right. So if a person comes to us and says, you know, I can buy drugs from this, we'll pay them.
Here's the situation then, and you've alluded to this, of course, after this situation goes amiss and you've got an officer of the law that has been killed, this obviously escalates the seriousness of what's been going on here. Buying drugs and selling drugs is one thing, killing an officer is something else. And then you have an informant here who's, I guess, from this neighborhood, or people have to know them. Then what happens to them?
Well, we want to do everything we can to keep an informant safe. You know, they could be a suspect from previous drug crimes.
They could have set up the officer, right?
Yeah,
one possibility.
You always have to worry about that when you're setting something like this up. Is the informant setting the officer up? But if we determine that's not the case, and the informant's in danger, then we have resources to get them away from here. So we're going to do all we can to protect our informants.
You've been in this line of work. You said for 13 years you
did
worked
it for 13 years, yeah.
Does it cause, when this happens, do you go, is there some other way to do this type of investigative work? I take it that there's not.
No, you know, we put together an operational plan before we do every one of these types of operations, and I would have to sign off on those as the lieutenant over the unit. And you know they're out there doing it, and sometimes I was out there with them, but until that deal is done and everything goes the way it was supposed to, and you can take that sigh of relief, it's just it's high stress. It's nerve-wracking. It really is.
This is also a reflection of the fact that we use drugs in our society.
That's right.
And this was attempted marijuana buy, but we've got, you've seen things come and go, crack cocaine, all this other stuff. Now you tell me it's opiates, it's prescription drugs.
Well, when I first got into narcotics, we were dealing with primarily crack cocaine and marijuana. We weren't seeing heroin, and meth really had not made it on the scene in Jackson. And we've gone through that. Now we're still working several meth labs on a fairly regular basis. We still have a lot of meth addicts in this area, but prescription drugs since about 2010, prescription drugs have been a major problem for us.
You're talking about that we have more people dying from opiate overdoses in Tennessee than we have being killed in traffic crashes.
And the last full year stats that I have so far is 2014, and we had 1,263
1,263. We got our traffic fatalities down to 1,000 or less per year.
Right. So we had more people die from
opiate.
And then we had 32,800 emergency room visits as a result.
And the situation, what makes this complex to me is this stuff is being prescribed.
For the most part, yes. The only opiate that we deal with that's not prescribed is heroin.
Which is now becoming a substitute, right?
Well, yeah, because
cost too much.
The prescription monitoring program and the laws have changed that have made it much tougher for doctors to prescribe and much tougher for people to doctor shop and get these medicines. So heroin is the replacement for those people, and most of the people you talk to that got addicted to hydrocodone or oxycodone will tell you that are currently addicted to heroin will tell you that's where their addiction started. They got addicted to hydrocodone or oxycodone.
I would take that would cross then every economic range.
It does.
Right.
You have I don't always like to use the word soccer mom, but you have that type of person all the way down to your street level junkie. Yes, it covers a very wide range of people because, like I said, most people start out using this drug legitimately. But that same year, 2014, there were like 925,000, almost 1 million, non-medical users of opiates.
Okay.
So, when you take that into consideration, you look at the ER visits, and you look at these deaths, and you think of insurance and all the stuff that's going on, the man hours that we put into enforcement. This is costing us a ton of money.
Okay. As a society, we're asking you to protect us from ourselves.
In drug cases, we are, yes.
We are, right.
Yeah.
Which is, like I said, with the death of Officer Frazier, then there's a cost to that.
Yeah, and for me, I've seen myself change in a way where when I was a young officer, it was just you lock them up, take them to jail, and you've done your job. When we deal with first-time offenders, I've kind of gotten away from that. I'm not so sure that jail is going to rehab some of these drug offenders. So, we've got drug courts now, and they appear to be having some good, successful stories that come out of drug courts, and I'm glad to see that, because if we don't get them rehabilitated, I worked a meth case one time, and the guy, we caught him with a meth lab. He got a 3 or 4 year sentence. He served 18 months, and within 3 months after he got out, we busted him in another meth lab.
Yep. Well, it has consequences for everybody.
It does.
We've got some other things to talk about, including an unsolved murder that goes back in our city to 1997. That's coming up next as we continue roll call here at EPlusTV 6.
Every day we hear of friends, family, and co-workers who are rushed to the hospital after an accident or for surgery. Every year, patients in West Tennessee served by Lifeline Blood Services require 27,000 units of blood and blood products. As a result, over 500 blood donors are needed every week. Visit our website now at lifelinebloodserve.org or call 427-4431. Lifeline Blood Services. Give blood. Save lives.
In 1986, my life changed forever when I struck 3 buried high-voltage cables while working on an excavation site. 30,000 volts of electricity blew through my body. I'm lucky to be alive and able to walk again. Today, accidents like mine can be avoided with a simple call to 811 in order to have your dig site marked.
Always call 811 before digging and be a hero. Respect the flags. Brought to you by Tennessee 811.
Welcome back to Roll Call here at EPlusTV 6. We're talking with Deputy Chief Barry Michael. The conversation beginning, I hope you can catch this on replay, with the death of Agent Dejaron Frazier with a TBI, this whole issue of drug enforcement cases, and sometimes these are lengthy cases. Doing an undercover buy can't just be set up overnight. Right. It's got to be with people that confidence, have connections. It's a complicated thing. We're asking people to do this. The irony in all this is that many of the pharmaceuticals that are most addictive now are coming through doctors' offices.
That's right.
Prescribed dental offices and other things. So there's a whole other channel now as opposed to what we've seen with marijuana production and other things, though it's legal now in some states and got other things going on. You said there's also something about which we need to be aware, that there's a tremendously powerful painkiller that's on the market now.
It's called fentanyl. It is a very powerful painkiller. It's 100 times more potent than morphine, 50 times more potent than heroin.
So it would be prescribed when or where? Hospital?
This would be prescribed for surgical patients, maybe cancer patients. This is for very severe pain. It's prescribed in low doses. But the issue that we see, it's an analog. It's a synthetic drug that's made. It's opiate based, but a lot of the ingredients to make this drug, or most of the ingredients, are shipped in illegally into this country from China. And
so somebody is privately manufacturing this stuff then?
Yeah, and
is there a conduit of supply then outside the medical establishment?
They're putting it in a pill form. They bought equipment a pill press to make it in pill form and stamping it in a lot of cases. The TBI issued an alert back in April about this. They're stamping it with the same number that's on the drug Percocet, which is oxycodone. However,
so I may be thinking I'm buying a Percocet on the illegal market, but I'm buying.
You could be buying fentanyl, and that is so much more potent. And those drugs slow your heart rate down, and just taking one tablet, if it's not what you think it is, and you take too much fentanyl, you're not going to survive.
Well, it's scary also because I hear these things about people getting together with parties and just dumping whatever they've got in and taking whatever.
We've heard stories about fentanyl-laced marijuana, things like that.
Wow. So it's a much more complicated thing. And as I said, we create this situation. We ask these officers to do something about it, and we're asking them to protect us from ourselves. Interesting thing. There's some other things to talk about. We've had a rash of auto burglaries in certain pocket areas that we have seen, and this is not theft of cars, it's theft of merchandise. From within cars. You say we had how many cases?
I think I went back and looked at July, and there was, I think, 40.
40. And in every case but 4, the doors were unlocked.
That's right.
Which is your fundamental advice to all of us when you get home at night.
Lock up your valuables.
Put your valuables in the trunk, take them, or take them in the house and do something. Or don't leave anything in the car, and then lock the car.
Yeah, these are crimes of opportunity. If somebody sees your iPad, your laptop, whatever the case may be, laying on the seat of your car, or if your car is unlocked, they're going to go through and ransack your car. And
we had certain areas. North Point was hit, Ramblewood, and then the areas around the hotels out on exit 85. That area out there. And so anyway, just be aware. And so apparently when they start working there, they're just going house to house, to car to car.
And then they're hard to predict because the next time they may be in a completely different part of town.
Okay. Lock the car, take the valuables, put them in the trunk, take them in the house. Okay.
We talk about this a lot.
A lot. We have an unsolved murder that goes back to 1997.
1997, January the 20th.
Okay.
A man named Larry Triplett, a African-American male, 48 years old.
40 years old, okay.
Was found shot to death in a home at 205 Lexington Street.
Okay.
There have been absolutely no suspects identified in this case.
Wow.
So he was discovered around 8:30 that night, and you know, we just somebody's talked about it. It's 20 years ago almost, but you know,
Larry Triplett.
Larry Triplett,
1997, shot in a house at 205 Lexington.
That's right.
Okay, and that's as far as it's gone.
Really,
Wow.
We have no more than that.
All right. Our Crime Stoppers number is 424-8477. In the history of our Crime Stoppers program, no one's identity as an informant has ever been compromised.
That's right.
So if you've got information in this case and somebody knows what happened to Larry Triplett, then we want that information, okay? And we'll take it from there. On this drug business, once again, I find it perplexing that we do this to ourselves as a society, okay? Nobody's making us take this stuff. We get out there on our own. Like I said, we ask you to stop it. And it's just a bizarre. These cases are difficult to formulate.
They are.
A lot of time and man work.
You know, we've been lucky on some cases that I've been involved in. Somebody will call and say, my next door neighbor's dealing, and we may make a case within a month.
Okay.
But there are some people, literally, I've had a few cases, a few big cases stretch out for 5 years.
Wow. Okay. Regret the death of Agent Frazier very much, and that it happened in our city, and from somebody that is accused of this from West Tennessee. It's all us. Good to see you.
You too.
We got a more pleasant thing to talk about. In one sense, it goes back to the death of an officer, but it's also a fundraising opportunity with the police department, and we'll talk about that next as we continue Roll Call here at EPlusTV 6.
With the whole family online these days, speed matters. Good thing EPlus Broadband has the consistent speeds it takes to keep everyone happy. In the den with a tablet, streaming a movie in HD, on the home office computer, and using Wi-Fi on a smartphone instead of using up your data plan. It can all happen at once with no waiting. Speed matters. Call, click, or visit Jackson Energy Authority to get set up with EPlus Broadband Internet today.
With the first pick of the draft, the Indianapolis Colts select quarterback Peyton Manning.
The NFL's only 5-time MVP, Peyton Manning, at Freed-Hardeman University, December 2nd, for the 52nd annual benefit dinner.
Peyton Manning has become the NFL's all-time leader in career passing
Go
yards.
to fhu.edu/Manning for information. Peyton Manning, December 2nd at Freed-Hardeman University, where faith and reason create Christian leaders.
Gig, 1,000 megabit speed, now available to any EPlus broadband internet customer. This gig-enhanced infrastructure has the capacity to increase speeds in the future. EPlus broadband, what many interpreted as JA's entrance into cable television, was actually the foundation of an unparalleled communications infrastructure. Looking out for Jackson's economic and lifestyle future is all a part of JEA today.
Welcome back to Roll Call here at EPlusTV 6. If you're just joining us, be sure to catch this program on replay because we have talked about the death of TBI agent Deshaun Frazier and this whole issue of undercover drug buys and what's going on in that enforcement area with the Jackson Police Department in West Tennessee. And so be sure to catch that. Sharon Massey is with us. Much more pleasant event coming up in one sense, in that it's a 5K run, but it's named in honor of Officer Andy Bailey, who was killed. And I asked when, and both Sharon and Barry Michael could not only remember the year, they remembered the exact date, June 17th of 2004, near our studios here across the street. But there's a 5K that is done in his honor to raise money for the Jackson Police Department's Community Fund. All right. It's coming up Saturday, September the 17th. Going to be a 5K?
5K. We're still going to do a 1 mile fun walk.
Oh, very good.
And for all the people that don't want to do the 5K.
People such as myself that would participate in a 1 mile fun
right.
walk. All right.
Registration begins at 8 o'clock Saturday morning, September 17th, and the race begins at 9 a.m. We need we need some participants. We don't have nowhere near as many as we had last year.
All right, so we're trying to get runners. So the runners, let's spread
runners.
the word. Yeah, that runners community out there.
Let's get out there.
So I go to racesonline.com if I want to register. It's $20.
It's $20.
Okay, which is a reasonable enough fee.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and coming up on that Saturday, and we've got the weather forecast already. It's going to be a perfect day, and get ready to go. Are there other activities that go on that day with this?
No, we're just doing the fun walk
5K.
and the 5K this year. Last year we had done, we tried to do a fun festival at the same time, and just the weather wasn't cooperating. So now, that was our first event for the community fund, the Andy Bailey 5K was, and we've had several more events since then, so we're trying to tailor
Just make this to a run.
Just a run, and then we'll have...
this is a timed competitive
yes,
for the Sears,
yes, sir.
for the Sears runners out there as well as casual run.
It's a timed run, and of course, within minutes, we get our awards out, and it's over.
All right,
it's
over
all,
and done. Okay. Well, it's important not only to in honor of Andy Bailey, Officer Bailey, but also because of the community fund. Community fund does what?
Community fund, you know, I have to brag on our chief a little bit. He has used this fund to focus on giving back to our kids and our youth in our community.
Okay.
We have bought school supplies and backpacks and donated to the Boys and Girls Club, the Boy Scouts of America, FCA, Young Life. We've bought equipment for the police department as well. Right. We've utilized it in several areas, but I think our key focus is a way to reach out to our youth, bring them in so that we have a good rapport between the two of us. And it's been amazing. I mean, we have lots of turnouts, and everybody seems to be very appreciative of everything that we've done. So I enjoy it myself.
Okay, in doing this. Well, it's an initiative of the Jackson Police Department. It's an important one, and you can see how the money's utilized. I guess also, as you talk about with young people, not only the opportunity for them to see law officers in a positive light.
Right, we're trying to have a positive interaction with our youth and
their families.
And their families, that's right. So, like I said, some of the events that we've had, I mean, when we had the Chiefs Challenge, we had bouncers, and I mean, we had tons of food there, music everywhere, so that we could, you know, as many people as we could come and they could see us in a different light. The Andy Bailey 5K is the same thing. I mean, we have the kids that are coming out there and officers that are running in it, and we're just trying to do stuff so that we're interjecting ourselves into their lives in a positive way.
It is the Andy Bailey 5K. It is coming up Saturday, September the 17th. It's a 5K run. It's a competitive run, timed if you want to, or if you want to take half the day, you can do that. Everybody may be gone when you get back. I did that one time for Air Relief Ministry. Everybody left by the time I got back. but you can do it. Take whatever time you want, or you can do a 1 mile walk.
You can do a 1 mile walk.
You go to racesonline.com, the Andy Bailey Run, and then it's a $20 fee. And registration that morning, if you register that day, will be 8 o'clock, and then the run will start at 9, and it'll be at the Jackson Police Department.
It's going to be at the police department. We're doing the same route as last year because everybody loved it. We had nothing but positive feedback. So we encompassed a lot of the downtown area. And so we just figured we'd go with what was great before, so why mess a good thing up?
All right. Well, that's the event. The benefit goes to the community fund that has a diversity of uses. It can purchase things for the department, but a lot of it goes right back into the community and the children and families within this community, so it's a worthwhile thing, and certainly appropriate to continue to honor Andy Bailey as well. It's good to see you.
You too.
Appreciate the work that is underway, and once again, appreciate Deputy Chief Barry Michael for being with us. And if you're just joining us, be sure to catch the show on replay. Some important discussion about drugs and addictions and the costs involved for all of us. It's good to see you.
Of course, as always.
Always, and appreciate the work of JPD. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next time as we continue Roll Call with the Jackson Police Department right here at EPlusTV 6.